What we do here is go back.
This is Eat and Drink, the mini episode, hosted by Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano. Some mature content and language may come up, so consider yourself warned. Now, get ready for Eat and Drink.
Okay, this is our mini episode. Woo! It's a smaller episode where we talk about a topic that either bothers us or that we want to bring to light.
Very important stuff, though.
Okay? Yeah, very important.
No less important than the major episode. The mini episode just packs a punch in a smaller amount of time.
The mini episode is perfect if you're like, all right, I just have a short little trip in my car or on the bus or on the subway.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get involved.
Yeah. Or the other thing is, I was thinking if the listener is sort of falling in love with us and realizes they need to sort of temper that because they're already in a relationship and they feel like I'm getting too attached to these guys. Mm-hmm. This is nice. It's a nice little dose of us and not something overwhelming
or if
to mess with your emotions.
If they hate us and they're like, I can't deal with those two for a long episode. I just can't stand them. But I do love
this is classic. That you would go with the hate and I would go with the falling in love.
There you go.
Oh my God. All right. What are we doing?
All right. I haven't talked to you about this.
No. This is a surprise to me.
This is the mini episode that's going to... People are really going to have an issue with it.
Okay.
You might even have an issue with it. And and that's why I didn't want to tell you beforehand. Because you have how many kids?
I mean, we don't know exactly.
Okay, fair enough.
No, there's four. There's four.
4 kids. So you got a substantial amount of kids, right?
Too many kids.
All right. I was a server since I was 17. I was a server for a quarter of a century, let's say. And one thing that drove me crazy.
Okay, that math doesn't work. But anyway, that's fair enough.
But anyways, for yeah, you're right.
Nearly.
Okay, let's say for 15 plus years.
Yes.
Okay? And parents that let kids run around in restaurants don't realize how dangerous it is.
Yep.
And I know there's parents listening, but my kid is good. I have an eye. No. If your kid's not seated at the table and you let them run around the restaurant, you are an asshole.
I mean, it's always more fun when we disagree, but I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that. You got to understand that, you know, I'm sure there's areas in my life where I have a sense of entitlement, but I don't have that entitlement where I have a kid and I'm like, well, who cares if he doesn't behave? We're going out to eat anyway.
Right.
I don't subscribe to that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with you ruining other people's nights. And as you said, there's a safety issue, possibly causing like real harm and damage.
There's a huge safety issue that I feel people who don't believe in what I'm saying. Like I've had friends who are parents who say, you know, I don't get to go out often. When I go out, I feel like I'm in a restaurant. I'm paying good money. I should be able to let my kid enjoy themselves too.
You had kids. There's a sacrifice involved. Observe the sacrifice. That's what I feel.
Here's the thing that people don't realize is that waiters will often travel around the restaurant with trays, which means they can't see below them. And sometimes those trays have hot items on them. And sometimes they're walking around with carafes of hot coffee that was just taken off the brew. And if I smash into your child with hot coffee, that's going to burn.
But these people who bring their kids to restaurants and let them walk around are also the people who are like, I will sue this restaurant for dropping hot coffee on my child. I mean, it's a no-win situation.
I worked with a friend, or I worked with this colleague who I would say is a friend, and a kid, he was working on a patio. So the restaurant had a patio, and it was quite vast, and this kid was running around. And we had told the parents, like, listen, your kid's making it very difficult. It was a festival day. You know when they have festivals on the street?
Sure.
And so your restaurant is packed, and your patios in particularly packed. And this friend avoided smashing into the child with a hot plate of something and messed up his knee and had to have surgery, and his knee's never been the same. Yeah, because he didn't want to smash into the child, but the child was running around. And the parents didn't even know about it. No.
Remind me of this story recently where there's a restaurant that has banned children.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You don't know about this? So there has been, it's one of these beautiful things where parents are like, I can't believe you did. People forget that you have the option to change the channel, that you have the option to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But entitlement dictates that you're like, no, I want to go to that and I want to bring my kid. But you and your kid aren't welcome there.
Yeah.
Why would you want to go somewhere where you're not welcome? So anyway, their reservations have gone through the roof
Wow.
with people who weren't even thinking about going there originally. But they're like, I love the stand that you've taken. I love that you said this. No children. Great. We're coming to see you. We're doing this for sure.
And as a
other
parent,
people
you're
are
not
like,
offended by this.
No, because you have to learn how to work in society. You can't have it all. You have children. There are sacrifices that have to be made. And this is the response. It's a very valid response from non-parents who are like, I didn't ask you to have children.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it my problem now as a single person or as a non-parent? Why is it my problem now that you had kids and you're like, well, I only get one night a month, so I should be able to. Who cares?
I think it also stems from the fact that going to restaurants is now a norm. Some people go to restaurants 3-4 times a week, so it becomes the norm of how they eat.
Yeah.
So it's no longer what going to a restaurant once was.
True enough.
Where you went to a restaurant, you behaved in a certain manner, there was a certain expectation. Now it's like, we go to a restaurant, we do whatever we want. If my kid can run around at McDonald's, they should be able to run around at this restaurant.
Right.
And I say, no, that's wrong.
I mean, it's a safety issue. I don't know what else.
And clean up after your kids. Yeah. If you have, because then it goes. As a waiter, I can tell you this. So I've had parents with kids, and they've been wonderful. The kids haven't been running around, but young kids will make a mess all around them, right? And I'm not saying get on your hands and knees and pick up, but if your kid makes a mess in that restaurant, do your best to clean up what you can and tip accordingly. Because I've had to remove tables, clean underneath, clean the table, clean the legs of the chair, everything.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's like, and you came in here like it was nothing. It was like, oh yeah, that's what my kid does. And if your kid starts throwing food around, tell them to stop.
I can't help but think, that those same friends you had when you were young and you go to a fast food place and they wouldn't pick up their tray, even though it's like, no, but there's a place for trays and the garbage it's really like 6 feet away from us, bro. Yeah. Nah, that's why they have people who work here.
Yeah.
That's why they have people who work here. Those people are the same people who are now the parents of people. Like, oh, it's the same people who work here.
Pick up your tray, put it in its proper place. If you go to the grocery store, put the cart in the cart thing. Don't just throw it wherever. Don't put it next to somebody's car. I go crazy for that.
I think it goes back to that conventional piece of wisdom, although I don't know if conventional is the right word, but it's a piece of wisdom that everybody should work in a restaurant.
Yes.
At least a year. If not a full busy summer, do a year and it'll make you a more decent human being.
Yeah. Yeah. Work in service.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure. Yeah, that would drive me crazy. It's like, I never minded kids in a restaurant, but I had a huge issue when the parents let the kids run around, when the kids made a mess or were doing things inappropriate and the parents didn't tell the child, we're in a restaurant, you can't be doing that right now.
Yeah.
And then when you served kids that were well behaved, it was the most delightful thing ever.
Totally. Sometimes my kids will get up and run around the restaurant, but in my defense, I'm wasted at that time, so I can't really focus on what they're doing. Okay. So
maybe there's bigger problems there. What do you do when your child gets a little bit like, is a child in a restaurant and gets antsy or whatnot?
He gets, it's always the girls have always been angels.
Sure.
Of the boys, it's one of them is such a glutton. He's such a little fatso.
I love it.
That we can actually reason with him and say, do you like your steak? Yes, Papa, I love my steak. We will never come back here. Ooh. And we will never have steak again if you get out of your chair again. Do you want to come back? Yes, Papa. Then you have to sit. Look at all these guys. They're not coming to our table. Why? They're waiting for you to sit. Otherwise, they'll trip over you, hurt themselves, maybe hurt you, and we can never come back here. And because he's such a fatso, well, I don't know what it's here, but he's such a fatso and a lover of food.
Yeah.
My wife and I went last month to a place called La Castille, the Castle. It's a great steak place. You know how steak places are, lunch deals are
like
to be
famous.
had.
I've never been there, but it's
very
well
famous.
known. Yeah.
It's very well known, and lunch is so reasonable. You go out with a couple of fellas in the evening, you have some wine. It gets pretty pricey.
It's in Mississauga or Etobicoke, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right on the border of Mississauga, Etobicoke, outside Toronto. And man, he sat and ate. As long as we kept feeding him, he would never get up because there's like, why would I get up when everything I love is here in front of me at this table? Now, that said, You got kids who are picky eaters. You got kids who are fussy. You got kids who have a hyperactivity, I don't want to say disorder, but hyperactivity issues.
They're just active, too.
It's not the same thing. I just have a kid who loves food.
Right.
The one who is the most rambunctious right now at age 2, now age 3. He won't get up because of the food.
Oh, man.
Right? So then there's the issue where we have to get a little bit more focused on him is between courses where no food is coming.
Okay, fair.
Then he's like banging his fork on the table a little bit, and we're like, hey, but they're 3. They got a lot of energy, and to that I say, that energy is best utilized elsewhere, maybe not in a nice restaurant.
And on the flip side of this, if you're a server and there's parents with kids in there, I always made it my endeavor to make sure that the kids' food came out right away. So I turned to the parents. I'm like, "Hey, do you want me to get your child's food out right away?" Like blah blah blah. And the parents, 9 out of 10 times, they'd be like, "Yes, please. Can we just get a pizza or whatnot, please, for my child?"
Marco, I've never heard that.
Oh, no.
That is, of course, that's so.
Yeah.
That's common sense.
And sometimes I'd get parents who would say, "No, the child is going to eat when we eat." And that's just, and I'm like, I respect that too.
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid going to a restaurant. And it was a big thing. And my parents would be like, "Okay, we're going to the restaurant. We expect you to behave.
Yeah.
And you're going to order. We want to make sure that, you do it properly and you eat properly." And my mom in particular, always wanted to make sure that her children knew how to use utensils properly and how to sit at a table well. And I think that's part and parcel why I fell in love with food and restaurants and dining and whatnot,
service
right?
as well.
And I'll never forget, because when I was a child, I wanted to be a fisherman, so I knew quite a bit about fish and undersea worlds and whatnot. And so we went to the Ponderosa.
That's where I learned that my father doesn't know how to order a steak. We love
really? At the
Ponderosa, yeah.
And my mom tells this story. She goes, "You were 3 maybe." And she's like, and the waiter came over and said, "And what can we get you?" And she said, and you stood there and you said, "I'll have the lobster." She goes, she said, me and your father looked at each other like, who was this kid ordering lobster, right? And of course, at the Ponderosa, they didn't have lobster, right? So they brought me shrimp. But right away, I said, "This isn't lobster."
Oh, man.
And she's like, every time we tried to do something, you'd be like calling us out on our shit and being like, "This isn't lobster. I'm not having this. What are you bringing?" As if we took the king out, right? But that's an early memory that my parents tell me of when I was a kid.
It's funny. Precocious and also a bit of a piece of shit, to be quite honest.
And to this day, I love lobster.
And you love making trouble for other human beings.
Indeed. Any last words on this episode?
No, write in with your thoughts. I mean, look, we welcome all opinions, but I got to be on with Marco on this one. It's your child could get hurt. You could hurt somebody else. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
And aren't you doing your kid a disservice by not informing them on how they should behave in a restaurant so that they grow up knowing that, look, if I want to be civilized, I have to behave in a civilized manner in a restaurant.
And if it's tough for your kid to behave, and I know that is an issue with close friends of mine that their kids have behavioral issues, maybe a restaurant's not that right, because you're not enjoying your meal anyway. So maybe a restaurant's not the right place.
Or if that's the case, then you have to alter your expectations. So perhaps go to the restaurant at a different time when it's not busy and when there's not the danger of, you add the waiter with lots of food and lots of people and lots of whatnot. And you'd be like, "Listen, I'm coming to the restaurant. I'm coming in early. My kid is a little bit rambunctious or whatnot. I'll do my best. But
we're coming in at 3 p.m. We'll be out by 3:45. What can you do for us?"
I know people are going to hate on me because I just said that. But listen, let us know what you do with your child if you have a rambunctious child.
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for listening to the mini episode.
All right, Eat and Drink. Send us your emails, but only if they're positive.
That was Eat and Drink, the mini episode with Ali Hassan and Marco Timpano. If you have a topic, cocktail, food item, or segment for what's in Marco's mouth, email us at podcasteatdrink@gmail.com. Again, that's podcasteatdrink@gmail.com. Look for the mini episode on the 1st and 15th of every month. Until the next one, Forks Up.